Hey, everybody, and welcome to Jeff Talks About episode 5. Been a while since I've done this. The last time I think was episode 4, and that was back when I talked about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I think probably about March or April, so about 9 months or so. Been a while, lots happened since. So I just thought I'd jump on in and give a little end of the year recap, a little bit of what I want to do for the future, and just to give a little story, a couple of informational bits about what happened in my 2024. As I'm recording this is my 52nd birthday. It is January 3rd, so I just turned 52. I may not post until January 4th, but it's being recorded now on January 3rd. So happy birthday to me. Another 365, well, 2024 was 366. About another 366 consecutive days alive, spinning around the sun and the earth. So yay for me. For those of you who haven't seen this before, welcome. I call this channel Jeff Talks About because Jeff's going to talk about a lot. I'm Jeff. So if you enjoy this, please like, subscribe, and all that YouTube rigmarole. Who knows if anybody will see it, but just want to share it to those who have. So let's get into it. 2024 was kind of a big year for my family, and we did a couple things. So pardon me, I'm also testing around some new tech here. Got a new mic, the camera's been new for a while. I've got a completely different work and home setup now for all the recording. So if anything does sound weird, please let me know. I don't want to make anything sound too weird. I'm just trying to tweak the sound and stuff. So hopefully everything is still good. Got a new setup here for recording. So just also wanted to test it out as well. So 2024 was a big year. So let's talk about a little bit what we did here. So what we did, let's see here, was come on screen share. That's not working. Why isn't that working? Why isn't this working? My main setup. And then hold on. Let me just get a little bit of this working here. Sorry. Big iPad share. There we go. Hold on. Why isn't that working? There we go. A little bit of technical issues, but we'll see what's going on here. So there we go. I'll just shrink that down. This here. And put this right here. No. I want this to shrink. Oh, I know what I did wrong. Hold on a second. Let me re technical difficulties, but we're all learning here. Just to show you what I'm doing though is I'm working on the screen sharing stuff. So just hold on. This will be just a pretty cool second. Remove. It's still there. So let's add something here. Capture device. Link. Okay, so what I'm doing just behind the scenes here is I'm actually creating something. Okay. You can't see it right now. That's okay. There we go. Okay. That should do it. All right. So I'm trying to do is what I want to do is I want to be able to. You are seeing it now. I'm sharing my iPad. Here's the main setup. I'm sharing my iPad. I want to say is what we did. We took a road trip. We took a road trip to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It was a pretty long driving trip. I'll show you a little bit of it, but we went to Cleveland to Cincinnati to say hi to my cousin and have some dinner with her. I haven't seen her in years. And then we went to Paducah to stay, and then we saw the Metropolis. So went to go see the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It was just, I've talked about it a little before, but it was just a miracle. I actually saw the Beatles stuff. It was just life changing to see all the Beatles gear and stuff. Got to see Genesis, their signature there for the Rock Hall of Fame. Chicago. We got to see a Cleveland Cavaliers game and they won. The girls are Cleveland Cavalier fans. It's kind of cool. It's cute. They just want to see another basketball game, but it's really cute. And then, like I said, we went to Metropolis, Illinois to see the Superman Museum and stuff. I was like in total heaven with that. Got to see the Christopher Reeve suit. got to see, here's the trip for what I did, all the driving. Went to the hotel, went to this restaurant, got to see, went from a hotel, let me see, from my location, it was basically 20 hours and 14 minutes. We went from, and I can draw on here, I can't, but we went from basically the Chicagoland area, past Detroit, all the way to Cleveland, then to Cincinnati, then to Paducah, and then to Metropolis, Illinois. It was a blast. It was just so much fun. I don't know if I'll ever drive that much again, but it was a lot of fun to see. And that was really just the beginning of the year. After that, Livy won a writing contest and got to see an actual author and talk to her and ask questions. So she was having a lot of fun. She was in heaven. Just, she got a day off of school. I got a day off of work. We got to go to a really cool, I think it's like, it was some kind of bear resort. It was somewhere in Illinois. But they actually had a real life author talking about her processes and what she does. And Livy actually got a question answered, and then she got an autograph. She was like in heaven that day. And it was just so much to see, so much fun. Later in the summer, Ariana went to Ireland and Scotland for 10 days, all on her own. I'll admit I tracked her a little bit, especially in the airports, just to make sure she got it through security and all. But she had a blast. There was so much she did there. All the sights, all the experiences, all the history she got to see. It was a lot of fun for her, and I was just so proud that she got to be able to do that. I got to see Sammy Hagar over the summer with one of my good friends for a concert. It was an experience to say the least. But it was Sammy Hagar and Michael Anthony from Van Halen doing some best of all worlds Van Halen stuff. But since, as we all know, Eddie Van Halen died, they pulled in Joe Satriani, who was like one of my all-time favorite guitarists, to play the Eddie Van Halen guitar stuff. And nobody's Eddie Van Halen, but you could close your eyes and you could swear to God it was just that good. He made one funny little, I don't know if it was on purpose or one little mistake Sammy did was he was signing a lot of stuff in a lot of jerseys, and in the Chicagoland area, he put on a Cardinals jersey. I don't think that went over. I don't know if it was a joke, but you could hear the crowd go, whoa, when he did that. So it's kind of funny, but it was a great show to see all of just the classics being played. They didn't do my favorite Dreams, but that's okay. They played so many good songs, and it was just great to hang out with a good friend at a great concert. So that was a wonderful time of the summer. And also, I just had to share, I got some great pictures of some great stuff. I know this isn't like the most fabulous thing ever, but this was lightning storms and lightning up the skies. It was like one of the most amazing things that I'd ever seen. I had to take a picture of that. Let's see, I celebrated my 4th year anniversary at work, which is pretty good. Love my job, love my company, love the people I'm with. So I'm enjoying all of that. I don't know what else to talk about. There's a little bit more here to go on to. Most of you don't know, but some of you may know. Back in June. Oh, before that, Livy actually also got into a speech contest. This was in May, I think. And she did so well. No, it wasn't May. It was this year. I can't remember. I'm sorry. When she did it. When did it say here? What day was it? It doesn't say when. But it was in 6th grade. She was part of a speech competition, and her first time ever, she got 1st place. And again, she was so proud of that. I'm so proud of her for doing all of that. It was just an amazing thing to see. My kids are just doing so well. I'm loving it. Saw a couple good movies. Saw a couple bad movies. Madam Web. We don't talk about that one. I even skipped out on Venom and what was the last one they did? Craven. Those are gone. And I'll talk a little bit more about movies later in this video, because not only is this a recap, this is also going to kind of be a soft reboot or a new beginning for my channel. So just want to give a little foreshadowing on that. But now to take a moment, some of you may know, most of you don't, but in the middle of all of this, back in June, why am I pointing that? In the middle of June, like June 25th, I think, I got into a car accident. I was on my way to I don't know if you want to call it a convention or a conference or something in Washington, D.C. First time I'd traveled for work in a long time. So I was driving along on I-55. This was about around 8 o'clock in the morning or so. Heavy rains, nothing I hadn't done before. But all of a sudden, my car, it was, show you a little later, but I basically bumped off of the concrete barrier on the driver's side, popped the passenger airbag, as you can see, and then ended up I was in the left lane, and I ended up in the right side ditch. It was, I don't want to say terrifying. It was scary at one point. But at a certain point, there was nothing I could do. All I remember was just seeing the car. Just as I put the trunk up, the back lift up because I was sitting under there. It was raining, and I don't know if you see it here in this picture, in one of the pictures here. You see in the top right of the picture, there's some cop cars there. Yeah, I bounced, and not only did I bounce, I got that nice little bruise. That's pretty much. I was fine. That's pretty much. Now, please hold back on the comments here. Woo woo. I know, but it's me. But I got a bruise. It got a little bit worse. That was basically me. That was my only injury on this. But what happened was, oh, one other thing I want to tell you. It took me a while. Oh, let me go. Oh, where'd the picture go? The map picture didn't show. Where'd the map go? The map didn't show up in here. Hold on. I'll show you the map where it was. Hold on. Where did that go? Here it is. I didn't move it, but here's the picture, and you'll see a couple other things here. But here is where it happened. This is I-55 heading north. Okay, and I normally am in this. I was in this left lane here. Let me just shoot. And here, sorry, technical difficulties. We're playing some new stuff here. We're just going to mark it up. Okay. I was driving in this left lane, and you can see it curving. Okay. So what happened was, I left a lot of space because it was raining really bad that day. I mean, it was horrible downpouring. Nothing I hadn't done before, but I left a lot of space in between me and the car in front of me. So the car in front of me was at least 4, 5, 6. I'm turning into Trump numbers. It was 56. No, sorry. I'm not going to get political. It was about 6 cars length. Okay. It was a large length because I don't trust other people when it's wet. As you can see, I was driving north here on I-55. Now, as the curve happened, I started to tap the car and I wanted to curve along. But what happened was the car wanted to go left. So it wanted to go into the wall. I'm like, that's not good. So what I did was I tried to turn it back a little bit, and then it wanted to go more into the middle lanes. I'm like, that's not good. So I swerved back a little bit, and the car was not responding. Also, it smashed a little bit right into this. And what I did was this is where I ended up, right here in the side ditch. But what happened was I actually went across, looped around, like literally, sorry, I literally looped around and ended up here facing the right way. So what happened was I spun out and did a 360 and ended up just skidding out into the right side. It is an odd thing to see, and I'll never forget it was a red car coming right at me, and I had to swerve. I literally was going sideways and spinning. My hands were on the wheel frozen. I just put my foot down on the brakes, and I tried, and I was in no control, and I figured if I tried to swerve it more, it'd be bad, so I just locked it, stayed there, and just my thoughts, I can't remember what my thoughts were. I wasn't screaming, I wasn't crying, I wasn't like, I don't know what was going on. I was just like, all of a sudden I see this red car just like swerve. And so there I am. I end up sitting in, oops, sorry. I end up sitting in the ditch here, facing north on the northbound lane, which is good. So everything was fine there. But I got my first call. Then all of a sudden, like the driver's side, so like I was just sitting there. My first thing was after I saw wisps of smoke. I'm like, It's raining. I got a hybrid car. I see whiffs of smoke. I think I had no idea. So I immediately turned off the car and I called 911. I don't know if you can tell, I'm fine. The bruise is gone. There are no lingering physical effects. I was totally okay. But then making sure that I wasn't broken, I wasn't bleeding, I could move everything, I called 911. And then my first thought was, shit, gotta call my boss and tell her I can't make the conference. It wasn't the first call, but that was my first thought. I called. I can't remember the order, but I know I called my mom to let her know I was okay. She wouldn't have any idea, but I told her I was okay. And then I called. Olivia was with Grandma and Grandpa. Ariana was at a weekend camp with her friends, so I called them, the girls, to let them know that I was in an accident. And the reason I did that, it sounds weird because the trauma with their mom dying in a car accident kind of has a weird impact on them. They're really nervous about that stuff, and I totally understand that. But my logic was, and this is where I want to tell them, if you're hearing it from me, that means I'm okay. You're hearing me tell you that I was in an accident, you know I'm okay, because I wanted to make sure the girls knew that everything was okay. I remember that day that their mom died, and there are some things that's really hard to talk about, and that's one of them, but I always wanted to be upfront and honest with the girls. They took it as well as I thought they could, but ended up getting it towed. Never had a car towed like that before. It actually took me to a McDonald's, and I had a friend come and pick me up and drive me home because, well, I obviously didn't have my car. And yeah, so that was June 25th. And as you can see, if you want to see here, the airbag deployed. So what happened is a while back, there was a recall on a lot of airbags. Main company that does all the airbags had a recall. So there's been a shortage of them. So most airbags are on back order. Again, I'm saying this is June 25th. I did not get my car back until November 13th. That was quite a while. And it was through the grace of my friends Dave and Nancy for picking me up at the McDonald's where I was dropped off from the tow truck to the girls' grandparents, Robert and Teresa, for letting me borrow his truck for a little while. To the rental guy at Hertz for giving me a better car at a lower price for a while because I had to rent a car for a while. And what's funny is I have towing on my car, but I never had rental. And even if I had rental, it would still have cost me, and I'm still paying it off. I would only be like for a month at a lower rate, but I had to rent a car for a long time. And then through the kindness of my daughter Olivia's best friend's mom, I was able to borrow one of their cars for almost 2 months, which saved me a lot of money. So to everybody I mentioned, Dave, Nancy, Robert and Teresa, the rental guy, and Ashley, thank you. You made this whole thing just unbearably easier. I told Ashley and I didn't even think about it. I was just telling her because she saw me driving up in the Nissan rental that I had, and I told her, it's like, well, yeah, I was in an accident. There's a back order, and they say, well, it could be here in August. Oh, well, it's not in August. It could be here in October, but you never know. It could swap. So I told her, she's like, oh, you can borrow this one. I said, it might be until January. She's like, it doesn't matter. So that's for that. So the part showed up in October. So like mid-October. So why didn't I get the car back until November? Well, they had to get it to a dealership to reprogram everything. Sorry. So because you need with computers now and everything needs to get tied together, reprogrammed, whatever. So I actually had to wait a little bit longer to November 13th. Was it? Yeah, November 13th. I get my car back at 4:45 on November 13th. Raining. I bring it home, and I see smoke rising from the over the tire on the driver's side, front driver's side tire. You can see a little bit of that smoke there in that video. I'm like, okay, it's raining, it's wet. I thought maybe something was burning off. Maybe they spilled something on there. I don't know. Get in my garage, and as you can see, the battery itself is smoking. I'm like, okay, maybe something was still wet. Maybe something was drying off. I don't know. So I go pick it up. I drop Ariana off at practice for something. I think it's her winter guard practice. And as I'm driving, literally within a few moments, this comes back. As you can see there, it comes back. I'm like, this isn't good. So the next day, they actually had to tow the car away. Turns out the battery went bad. This was like Honda puts in, I don't want to say low end batteries, but they put some weird kind of battery that if it sits too long, something evaporated on it, and the battery was trying to burn off some stuff. And I'm like, that's not good. So they put a new battery in. I mean, I got the car, they took it back the 14th, got it back 2.5 hours later on the 14th. But the thing that got me about that, and I'll come back to those later, but the thing that got me about that was they had to take the car to a dealership to reprogram, clear all the codes that were in the car. The car had to run at the dealership. I'm not going to lay on the body shop for that. They've been great. They were great. The car is back. She's normal. There's one little cosmetic piece missing, but we'll get that soon. But you'd think I noticed this like after 2 minutes of driving. And then after like 10 minutes driving, you still notice it's like, that ain't right. So they put a new battery in, but the dealership, I'm like, wouldn't you notice it? So final coda or end to that story is I get an email from the dealership saying, hi, we just recently serviced your vehicle. And I know it had to be that dealership because it's like, I didn't take mine in anywhere. I'd never taken it to this one. And I'm like, they wanted me to rate them. I'm like, I'm not going to rate them. I'm not going to bash them. But the final kickers, I get the car back and the battery. They put a new one in, charge it to the insurance, and I'm good. That's a lot to say, I know, and it's a little rambling, I know, but the thing of that is, one of the first things I asked when the cops and the paramedics showed up, well, they asked me if I was all right. I said, yeah, I'm fine. The headaches are going to start when I got to work in with the insurance. The only thing that hurts is my pride. I was telling bad jokes, so I knew I was fine. A little backstory to that is, a little bit of backstory is, my dad worked for a printing company, and he actually was one of the printers. He ran one of the printers, and they cut the paper and stuff. When I was really young, I'd have to say younger than 5. I still remember this though. My dad basically cut his fingers off. They reattached them and all that, but it was like for a long time he was bandaged up. I don't know if it was right, but he still like lost part of a finger. But that man was cool as a cucumber always. He was in real pain though. And I'll never forget what he told me once. It was like, yeah, he was telling us, it's like, yeah, a nurse asked me if I was allergic to anything. I said, pain. I just think that cracks me up all the time I hear my dad say that. He was like calm and cool under all that pressure. I wasn't in any pain. What I had on the shoulder here didn't hurt until a while, but I knew I was okay because I was cracking bad jokes and they were laughing. But one of the first things I asked them was, this was 8 o'clock Monday morning on I-55 in Illinois, just about 45 minutes south of Chicago, but still everybody's still heading in to work. Just south of Bolingbrook, Illinois. So it's busy. It's not empty. This is busy time. The first question I asked them was, Was anybody else involved in this? I didn't hit anybody. I didn't even hit a tree. I just spun out and got in the ditch. So I didn't touch anybody. But I asked them, did anybody swerve into anybody else? Did anybody else get hit? Anything else get affected by this? And they said, no. And that blew my mind. I did a lot of thinking about that nobody but me was affected by this. I know people have been in worse car accidents, and I know people have come back from worse car accidents, and I've seen cars that have hit. I've seen worse. But something like that still, when you're out of that control and you don't know what's going to happen, I don't know what to say to that. The fact that nobody else got injured, that nothing else happened, it just boggles my mind that it could have been so much worse, and it wasn't. And there's a lot more I can talk about on that, but that's not for today. There's a lot more I can do. But I just wanted to tell you that was a big part of my 2024, and it really makes you think about a lot of things. You know, it's corny, but tomorrow's never promised. I was just pragmatic the whole time. I don't know, my heart was maybe racing. I don't know. All I know is I crashed that day. Somebody said, could you have still caught a flight? I'm like, what's funny is my flight was supposed to leave at 1. I was going to get there in plenty of time. My flight was supposed to leave at 1, but because of the weather, it was delayed till at least like 3:30. So theoretically, I could have still rented a car, have somebody drop me off at the airport, and make it to the conference. No. I will say that if it was my job is like in sales, and part of my job is to do demos and product demos and stuff, part of the sales process, technical side of it and all that. If it was something like that and I was needed, I would try to make it. I would have been, a little bit nerve wracked and probably a little out of it, but I could have done it. I mean, pain didn't show up, but I got to thinking, maybe just watch myself and stuff, make sure I didn't, like fall unconscious too much. Like I said, I was fine. The only thing you saw was that Bruce got a little bit worse. Nothing ever really hurt. I just took ibuprofen, and physically I'm fine. Mentally, I'm still me. It makes you think that, tomorrow's never really promised, and that you really should take advantage of everything that you can when you can. And you should not shy away from things. So part of my outlook on 2025 is to, I don't know about losing the weight. There's always stuff like that, but you still have to know that you have to be able to go out there and take that chance. You can't recoil. You can't be afraid. You can't cower back. Life is a gift and you can't waste it. I've known that ever since the girl's mom died. And I respect that every day. This just cemented it more. And also going back to the you can't recoil and be afraid. I still am a little driving is, I've been forcing myself to drive. I've put so many miles on the car because I need to get over irrational fears. I need to drive past the place the accident happened. I need to drive in the rain. I need to relearn my confidence. They're also take into account like all the all the things now and that happened, and realize that I got to be still got to be cautious and all that. And I was cautious. I was the one cautious guy out there. I wasn't swerving and swerving. I was actually trying to break down slowly. But hydroplaning, who knew? Cops said it's normal. They've seen it a lot on that road, but it doesn't mean I want to be doing that again. So yeah, I'm still driving a lot. Every time I go around that corner, there's a little bit of a wet slick. I do get a little bit of a white knuckle. But it's getting better. I'm about like 95% there. If you were sitting with me in the car, you'd never know because I got to keep driving. I got to keep doing it. I can't not do these things. But in my head, it's still there. So feel free to safely drive with me. I'm still a good driver. I wasn't a bad driver then, but I'm going to be fine. I mean, I've been taking the girls on road trips. Car handles like a dream. My car's back. You never know what you miss, what you got until you miss it. I loved the cars that I borrowed. One of them was real sporty, but I miss my car. Funny is, I was thinking that, if it took too long, I might have to just buy myself a new car anyways. And I got into the car buying mode again. And in 3 years, because I bought the car in 2021, it'll be 4 years now. It was a 2020 model, but I bought it in 2021. Anyways, there's a lot of changes even in those 3 years. Heated seats was something I thought was cool. Now they've actually got ventilated seats, which means in the summer they cool you off. 360 cameras. Maybe my car's stuck. I will say I love my Honda CR-V, but their infotainment system is like one of the crappiest I've seen. So that's a whole other video. But I wanted to share that big thing about 2024 with you. Kind of about this video is about as well. Been thinking about it for a while, but there was something that cemented me wanting to talk about a new beginning. And the new beginning is here. Come on. The new beginning is going to be with Superman. You're probably wondering, what does a new beginning have to do with Superman? It's because with the teaser trailer that came out like 2 minutes of the movie, it's a new beginning and it's given us hope. And as you all know, and I kind of wore this on purpose today, Superman is a big thing. I mean, my favorite superhero now, and for the longest time has been Green Lantern. I mean, as you can see here, all the Green Lantern stuff. I love the Green Lantern. My favorite comic book character in and of itself is a guy named Adam Warlock. If you saw Guardians of the Galaxy 3, you saw him, but that's him, but that's not the character I grew up with. It's kind of like, we'll talk about that in another video too, but I love Adam Warlock. But in the beginning, as it always has been since he was the first, Superman is the guy that has captivated me since the beginning. Star Wars came out first. Star Wars will always have my heart, but Superman has been there since I was about 2. Been around longer, but Superman's been in my life since I was about 2. And it came from the comics. I don't remember which one this is, June, November, but these are like scans of some of the first comics I ever had. The prices say 25 cents. I don't know if you can see that, but 25 cents. About $4 now, but 25 cents. This was 1975. My mom was buying them like at the Jewel grocery store or like the Ben Franklin or like a wall, when they actually used to have like the wall of books that have comics in. She would buy me just like stack and stack. I've got some Batmans that may be a month or 2 older, but it's always been Superman. And I still have these. They're just taped up and boxed up in the garage, but these are some of the oldest comics I have. So Superman's been around for a long time. And then shortly after that, in like 78, everybody knows the Superman movie, Christopher Reeve Superman movie. And that leads to kind of, you can see, Christopher Reeve action. This is brand new. Just bought it. Just came out. Christopher Reeve Superman. This is the Superman I grew up with. It's pretty much the Superman everybody grew up with. There's Superman here. I've got a first edition Superman here. Yeah, I'm still buying toys of 52, 51, but whatever. You saw Superman at the Superman Museum of all places. It's just, he's always been that kind of character that gives you remember the Christopher Reeve, he was just kind, caring, but also firm and just and strong. It was like he was always just like Superman. He was Superman, and there's been a lot of Supermans. And I'll talk. I've been having an idea about going through different phases of Superman that affect me throughout my whole life. But another version of Superman that always got me was the old time radio show. Or if you've seen those old Fleischer cartoons, like the old school Superman ones, where it's like, now it's a job for Superman. My dad, I'll tell a little story about this and then move on to a new beginning and hope for what I want for 2025 and for the Superman movie here. It goes back to Star Wars, pop culture, whatever. But it's Star Wars. And in, I believe it was like 1980 or so. I could look it up, but I know it's like 1980 or so. They released on NPR something called the Star Wars radio drama. A lot of you might not have heard of it. If you know me, if you're like me, if you like the pop culture I do, you probably have. But what happened was, in a short nutshell, is George Lucas donated various versions or various compilations of his Star Wars script and all of the backstory of his script to his alma mater college or something. And he allowed them to create a radio dramatization of Star Wars. They got Mark Hamill to come back as Luke Skywalker. Of course, they had C-3PO, Anthony Daniels, the C-3PO. They didn't get Harrison Ford. They didn't get James Earl Jones, but they got a few of the main characters. That was enough to make you feel Star Wars. But the important thing was they had all the special effects. They had all the sounds. It was a full cast radio. It wasn't like an audiobook where somebody was just sitting there and reading the book that they wrote, even though they were intoning things, but it was just a reading of the book. This was a full on with sound effects like the lightsabers, Chewie, R2-D2, the sounds. It was, you close your eyes and you're in the movie. It was so cool. It was like 13 half-hour parts. It was like a 7.5-hour thing. It had expanded a lot of what Star Wars is, and a lot of Star Wars in my head comes from that, not just the movies, but from that. There's a whole generation, like one of my nephews is into the Star Wars, was it the Clone Wars, like the CGIs? That's his stuff, and I love it, and it's cool, but mine, that's me. And they also released from that an Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, but those really never went on the radio. But I love that Star Wars thing so much that I actually was like sitting up recording it on cassettes off the radio. What does this have to do with Superman? My dad, I guess, was talking to a friend of his at work about this. And my dad came home with cassettes. They weren't the greatest. I guess he taped his friend taped this stuff off of the radio from an old time radio station of the Superman, those old time Superman radio shows. I'm sure I can play them on here. They are, what do you want to call it? They are free. I guess they're copyright. They're public domain now. So I could do that, I guess. But what he brought that home, and that just captured my attention so much because it was like, these are from like the 40s, maybe late, yeah, had to be mid 40s. And just Clayton, I believe his name was. I could look it up, but in fact, let me do that. Yeah, live super voice, Bud Collyer. That's what it is, Bud Collyer. I mean, everybody knows the George Reeves Superman TV show, but this was even before that. This was where a lot of Superman stuff. But he got me these radio cassettes, and I loved him so much. This was before we even had 2-deck radios. I took one radio deck to play it, and another one up to record it, and I put them side to side so I can make my own copy of these Superman tapes. And they really stuck with me. Let's see here. Just doing a little, I'm winging it here, guys. I do have a script, but you know, dramas, DC. Oh, The Adventures of Superman. Let's see here. Let me see, Superman. Let me see here. You should be hearing it on here. A little bit of, if it's too loud, let me turn it down a little bit.
Look, it's a bird. It's a plane.
But you should be hearing an old time radio show on here, a little bit of it. I don't want to do too much because I don't want to get in trouble with YouTube, but this is kind of what my dad brought me, and it stuck with me. Stuck with me so much that I actually, as I got older, in case you're wondering, yeah, you were listening to that, they actually put those out on cassettes and CDs. I went out and bought them. They're on an internet archive now. You can look up Superman on radio or old time radio classics, and you'll find these radio dramas. But they stuck with me so much. I used them and Star Wars to listen to road trips when I was on my own. I listened to music a lot, but there are times I just like listen to these old time radio shows, and the Superman stuff just really it stuck with me. And then going back to Christopher Reeve, that was how everybody envisioned Superman. A modern version of it, I can compare what I think Superman should be is Chris Evans, the Captain America. Not the same thing, but the same kind of temperament. Always right, always confident, always sure, but never violent, too violent if he didn't need to be. But why this ties back is to the Hope and to the new Superman is because, well, while I loved, there's been a lot. There's been the radio version. There's been the George Reeves Superman. There was this Christopher Reeve. There was a Superboy TV show. There was Lois and Clark with Dean Cain in the 90s. And then there was recently, which I think is, if you want a good show, even though it's Lois and Superman and Lois. It just ended a 4-year run. And while he may not look like the prototypical Superman, it is some of the best Superman writing and Superman characterization and Clark stuff I've ever seen. And it's amazing. And the reason I'm saying that is because of Henry Cavill and the recent Superman movies. Henry Cavill is and always will be very respected by me. He just never got a good Superman script. I don't care about the costumes, but he never got, the recent movies never got Superman. And I can go into this a lot, but you need to know that Superman is not supposed to be Batman. Superman is not supposed to be dark, not supposed to be sad. He's not supposed to be moping. He's supposed to be the prototype, the beacon of hope, what you can aspire to. He's not I'm gonna beat you to within a. He's not Batman. Batman's great. I love Batman. I can do a lot on Batman. But Superman is not that. And that's what the recent Henry Cavill movies were. They were dark. They were brooding. He got the character right. He looked it. He honored it. He was a great. The scripts just weren't there. He was given the best. He did the best he could with what he got. Like everybody goes back to like with all the Batman movies. It's like Michael Keaton's the greatest. No, it's Christian Bale. No, it's Ben Affleck is straight up the bomb, most comic book Batman ever. Michael Keaton was great. I like him. I love him. Everybody says he's the greatest. We can have discussions on that. It's Kevin Conroy, hands down, though, whatever. We'll talk later about Kevin Conroy and the animated Batman. But if you've watched the animated Batman, that's how I see my Batman and I hear my Batman. That's like the equivalent of Christopher Reeve. If you get that, and that's the greatest thing thinking. If you watch Batman the Animated Series, and no other Batman seems right to that because that's your Batman. That's how I feel about Superman. And what they've done recently is like, that's not right. I mean, he's super. By the way, the nails, if you can see them, were done by my daughter's sister, Katrina. So I just kept them on. I saved the right hand, but whatever. Superman is hope. And that's why I think you should watch Superman and Lois, because that was just a great show. Smallville, I didn't forget Smallville, but that's not technically Superman. That's Clark Kent getting to be Superman. They did a wonderful job with it. But if you want Superman, boom, that's it. But going back to the Henry Cavill stuff, and to the Batman stuff, it's like George Clooney was in the worst Batman movie ever. But I really think if he'd gotten a good script, he could have been perfect. He was a great Bruce Wayne. He could have been a great Batman, but they gave him the bad credit card and just turned him into an Adam West show, which I love Adam West and I love the Adam West show of Batman, but that's not the vibe you're going for with that. So Henry Cavill could have been great, and if they had just moved him into this, I think he would have been great with this, what it's going to be. But the point I'm making for this Superman is hope. It's a new beginning, and it's hope. You look up. It's got a more established Superman who doesn't seem so down. And I know we've just seen a couple minutes of it, and it could end up being just hot garbage. We'll find out in July. But to know the guy who wrote it and directed it is James Gunn. And if you've seen any of the Guardians of the Galaxies movies, you know him. He did also the Peacemaker show on HBO. And he's did that Creature Commandos, which I hear is pretty good. I haven't watched it yet. But I trust that it's not going to be total hot garbage. In the teaser trailer, there are some characters. There's a guy, Guy Gardner, basically the Nathan Fillion actor who's playing him. Looks like everybody's making fun of him, but if you know the comics, unfortunately, that's comics accurate for a while. Hopefully, they'll fix that a little later. But I could do a whole more review on that a lot. There's going to be a lot more coming on the channel, which is going to be new beginning, soft reboot. It all ties together somehow. I've always wanted to do this channel because I want to say stuff. I want to review toys like that. I want to review comic books. I want to review albums. I want to talk about pop culture. I want to tell you about the Superman movie that I'm going to see. I want to tell you about like a great TV show that I found. I just want to talk about things like the car wreck. I just want to communicate, and that's what it's been about. But I can never quite get it right until, believe it or not, the Superman trailer. It's like it's a new beginning, a new start. So I'm not trashing what I've had before. I'm not changing formats. I'm not going to be, like different background. But I'm kind of tweaking a little. It's still gonna be Jeff Talks About, and Jeff's gonna talk about a lot. Talk about maybe this Doctor Who DVD or Blu-ray. One of the comic books, one of these omnibuses I just got for like DC versus Marvel. Gonna talk about maybe a movie, gonna talk about maybe travel, talk about vacation, talk about, an action figure review, talk about an iOS update, but it's always going to be something talking about music, talking maybe about an album, talking about a group, talking about an idea that I had in my head. Like one of the ideas I noticed is I just gotten like 3 CDs in a row. One of them was a group called The Effect, which if you know them, I'm impressed, but you probably haven't. The Effect, Chicago Live, 1971, and David Gilmour, the lead singer, or now former lead singer of Pink Floyd. And I was thinking when I got those, it's like The Effect is basically a super group of the children of some people from the 80s. Nick Collins is the drummer, which is the son of Phil Collins. There's somebody named, I think, Trev Lukather, who is the son of a guitarist, Steve Lukather, who's in Toto and was basically a famous guitarist back in the 80s. So that's a new group, but that's a new generation, but they're just coming up. Chicago 1971 was a powerhouse group then back at their prime, or at least rising to their prime. And then David Gilmour is still a legend, but he's had his peak, and now he's just at his, older age, and he's just recording for fun and for love. But it was just the idea of, up and comers, up and comers and second generation, and just a transition of time. And I'll go through all of that. I'll talk about a new album. I'll talk about one of the albums I've always wanted to. I'll talk about a lot of them. I want to talk about my inspiration for the whole, I don't know if you want to call this podcasting or YouTubing thing, was Kevin Smith of all things. Silent Bob taught me how to speak, or got me to want to speak. That's a long story, but I'll get into it. But I just want to let you know there will be some focus. I'll put more up than just 2 a year. I'm going to try to get some notes for all of this. But just want to share. And if something I say sparks your interest, or something I say, upsets you, comment on it. Like it, subscribe it, comment on it. Share it with your friends. I'm not going to try to copy any other YouTubers here. I frankly wouldn't want to. I wouldn't want them to copy me. But I just want you to know that I've had some influences. I'll talk about them. And Kevin Smith is a big one. There's this guy named the Professor of Rock, and then a guy who does podcasts, how-tos, or he's tutorials, or just speaking about, YouTube equipment, but just the way he presents. I'll go over all of that in a long time. But I just want you to know that this is kind of a soft reboot. This is episode 5. Next one will be episode 6. I'm not renumbering. I'm not going back to scratch. I'm not taking the old things down. But I just want you to know that I will be here a little bit more. I'm having fun with this. I've got the new gear. I want to test it out, and I want to get more comfortable with this. We're going to have some fun. We're going to review some albums, review some movies, review some toys, talk about TV, talk about pop culture, things I see, things I'm interested in. Maybe if you chime in, we'll talk about things you're interested in. Who knows? Kids will join in on this. I'll tell you about vacations. I just want to share because I figure if something I do sparks something in you, like I've heard things that spark something in me, something I can do sparks something in you, it's all worth it. And it just has to be one person. And if it doesn't, I'm still having fun putting this out there for the universe to judge and to have fun. On that note, it's been a while. I lost track of the time here, but I do want to say thank you. I've had a lot of fun. I look forward to starting over again and having some new videos out here in a more timely manner. They won't all talk about the car accident. They won't all talk about, Superman the movie, but there will be parts of all of this in there. It's just Jeff Talks About. One of these days, it's just going to be Jeff Talks About random stuff. But thank you for your time, and I hope to see you soon. Take care.